Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Astrology Now with astrologer Babula Clement and myself, Cheryl Gottschall. For those who've been tuning in to us regularly, we have a little announcement to make to let you know that we will be continuing the episodes, but they will only be once a month on the new moon. So from now on, you'll only see us once a month rather than every fortnight because you know what? Life's busy and there's so much to do. But we still enjoy doing the episode. But in this episode, we'll be diving into the powerful energies of the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, taking place actually on the day that we're recording for a change. So, eclipses are always portals of transformation, and this one is especially potent, arriving in the meticulous and earthbound sign of Virgo. Also, with the Southern Hemisphere spring equinox at its heels. So, as many of you will know, Virgo energy is all about refinement and healing and clarity and aligning with purpose through practical steps. So, with the eclipse acting as a cosmic reset button, this lunation invites us to release outdated patterns and restructure our routines and embrace new pathways that support wholeness and balance. So, what does it mean for us collectively and individually, and how does it interact with the greater astrological climate? Well, that's what we're about to dive into with our professional astrologer Babula leading the way. So, welcome, Babula. It's great to see you
Thank you,
again.
Cheryl. You too.
I've been getting organized on so many levels with my fitness and health and things I want to reduce or weed out so my life is more streamlined. How are you going on that front?
Yes, same, very similar, dealing with health issues and getting very focused and very clear, getting support of a wonderful health practitioner, and really kind of sifting through very specific. I'm just reflecting on that now, very specific issues and details, and doing a lot of sorting and organizing even on the home front, but in my work as well, like really, as you were saying, bringing things into a laser sort of focus.
Mm.
And I like that word you use, weeding out, weeding out, like, no, that's going to go, that's going to go. Yes.
It's like
And
getting your
yeah.
hands in the garden.
Yes, and actually yesterday I spent quite a lot of time doing some, pretty big pruning, which I enjoyed. It was a beautiful day. And, it's that kind of thing, what needs to be clarified and sorted and sifted through, and it gets down to the details. But often, as I say, the devil's in the details. Often it's the details and the overwhelming sheer volume of details of daily life that can be the source of a great deal of stress, which Virgo is prone to. Um, so yeah, what can we clear? And this eclipse, this really potent, and it's very potent. I think we'll be talking about that for quite a big chunk of this particular conversation. It's really potent for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's at 29 degrees of Virgo, which is the very last degree of the sign. In astrology, we call that the anaretic degree. And it's like a really critical point. It's like the sign of Virgo has come to almost a crisis point, a turning point, and that it always carries with it this feeling of, okay, this is the last opportunity at this last degree to really get this thing done, sorted, clarified, whatever that is. Because by the following day the sun will have moved into the next sign, which, as you commented on, will actually be the equinox. So the eclipse is powerful because of the degree. It's the day before the equinox, which is an important portal in itself. It's also what we call a south node eclipse. So the sun moon conjunction at 29 degrees is conjunct the south node, which is about the past and the old. So that so reinforces, everything that both of us have just been saying about, weeding out and getting clear about. Now, what I've finding is that old memories are coming up. Like there's somebody who's been in my life for a long, long, long time who's coming to the end of his life. And, and we're seeing, of course, in the public arena, a couple of big significant deaths, which tend to happen around
Mm,
eclipse time. These eclipse portals are times when that happens. Um, So I've been really kind of combing through charts and things and just observing the impact of that lunar eclipse we had, on the 8th of 15 degrees of Pisces. And this one, and watching all those trigger points because eclipse degrees are really powerful. They're like hotspots,
yeah.
they're trigger points, and those degrees are very potent during eclipse time
Mm.
and for some time afterwards as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking along the lines of like if the with the Virgo energy there, we were having also a pre-recording chat, and we were talking about what is it that we want to keep in our lives and what do we want to leave. And I was thinking about something that I've been doing for many years, another group that I run, where we get together and we speak about strange encounters. And people can come here. It's a safe space. They talk about anything. There's no judgment about their strange encounters that they've had in their lives. And I was thinking, with Virgo there, me thinking about, well, do I want to keep doing this? Actually, yes, I do. And it's really about what are you willing to devote yourself to?
Yeah.
And there's that devotion. I'm
Yeah.
I'm sort of thinking about my time and my energy, and there's other things I really want to do, um, other projects, but I also see the significance and this and the sacred space that this group needs to be able to come together. So
Yeah.
I've got to examine, you know, where's my devotion level at, you know?
Yes.
Mm,
And what are the priorities and what is really important and worth keeping and maintaining, even though it might need a bit of tweaking,
yeah.
Virgo, you can see
Mm,
the
yeah.
specific areas where it could be tweaked. And what's had its time, what's it's had its day. I'm done with that. That's
Mm,
past and we're moving on.
yeah.
Yes, it's really sort of front and center right now, isn't it? That whole theme. And this issue with this person who's coming to the end of his life, it's actually taken me, it's brought up a lot of old memories,
Mm,
from years and years and years ago. And that's been really interesting as well. This is very much the South Node eclipse process, things from the past arising or people from the past arising and reminding us of certain things. And it can be quite moving in some ways. It might be very healing. Virgo, as you said, is a sign of healing, as is the opposite sign of Pisces. And these two signs, Virgo, Pisces, they are very much about the sacred, aren't they? They're
yeah.
very much about sacred space
Yeah, exactly.
and what we hold sacred space for, and what is no longer perhaps of value or required in that. So we're getting clarity, aren't we? A lot more
Mm.
clarity about things.
Yes, peeling away things,
Yeah,
expectations, ideas, and all that sort of stuff. And but like we said earlier, we're only human. There's only 24 hours in a day, and even though we want to do everything, we have to then distill what's really important.
that's right.
Mm.
And Virgo, this will also be relevant for a lot of people because I'm experiencing it. I'm seeing it around the people close to me and so on. Virgo is also a sign to do with health and illness.
Mm.
And so that's we're quite vulnerable and prone to health conditions really arising very strongly during this time. And, Virgo is very much about the digestive process, but it is the primary sign to do with health and all things medical in the physical body. So it is a great time to be really addressing our health and getting a lot of clarity. And see, it's ruled by Mercury, and Mercury's got so much to do with health and medicine.
Mm.
Even though we always think of him as the planet of communication, and he is,
Mm.
every image we'll ever see of Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, he's holding that caduceus, the
Mm.
symbol for medicine.
Mm.
And he rules the sign of Virgo as well as Gemini. So getting the right information, getting our mental state, our mind, our mental process in more of a state of clarity instead of just overwhelm and exhaustion.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, all of these things are coming up.
yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
It really, really is. And because it's an eclipse, it's a new moon, sun, moon together. And in a
Mm.
minute, we'll start talking about all the different planets aspecting this eclipse, because that adds
Yeah.
so much to the potency and the complexity. But it's like things just come to a peak. They're building and building, and they come to this critical point out of which a new clarity can emerge.
Mm, mm. I think it's because it's Virgo. I think it's also because it's very orderly. It's a very
Mm,
orderly sign. So this is sort of like this eclipse is about nudging us to see where our lives have fallen out of order,
that's right.
right? Um,
Yep.
and what's not working, what
Yeah.
is it? Yeah. So we sort of
Yeah.
live in a more so that we learn to live in a more organized manner that achieves those Virgoan goals as well. And it may just be, simply on a day-to-day basis, making lists, actively ticking off completed activities and taking pride in our little accomplishments.
That's right. And Virgo is very much about the day-to-day stuff,
Yeah.
just the day-to-day practical stuff of life. And
Mm.
its opposite sign, Pisces, is more about the cosmic, but these two signs can work together beautifully if they're both given their due and their space, so we can be in alignment with, those higher spiritual cosmic energies, but at the same time, we're dealing with the day-to-day nuts and bolts of human life and getting our act together and getting organized.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. So I thought I'd highlight on this chart to make it sort of visibly quite clear.
Mm.
This is the sort of pattern.
Mm.
So this is the sun and the moon forming the eclipse. There's the south node really close to it, which is why this new moon's an eclipse. It's connected to the nodes. Opposite Neptune
Mm.
and Saturn. That
Yeah.
alone would indicate that this is a very strong, potent, and in many ways challenging eclipse. It's also trine the planet Uranus. So these are really powerful outer planets of evolution
Mm.
and trine to Pluto. So we've got this grand trine formed over here, but we call this in astrology a kite formation. And this is because there are so many planets right now, including this eclipse, sitting at these cusp of signs,
Mm.
29 degrees, 0 degrees, 1 degree of signs. And so they're all forming these alignments with each other. So it's not just an eclipse sitting on its own, doing its own thing. It's having these big conversations and dynamic interactions to and from these other energies.
Mm.
And so it's very powerful, potent. It's like it means business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So for those people who don't understand anything you just said,
yeah,
let's break
yeah.
it down a little bit for them.
Right.
The first bit with the eclipse opposites Neptune and Saturn. Now I know you watch the world stage quite a bit. How do you see that sort of being portrayed in real life out there?
Well, first of all, just a simple description of those two planets. So we could be here for hours talking about
I
this
know.
one.
Do
I
your
know.
best. Do your best.
Saturn and Neptune have been traveling very closely together since early this year, and will continue to do so for the rest of this year and into the first part of next year. They're both slow-moving planets, And they are together, and they're very, very different. Saturn is about the realities of human life and has been in Pisces for 3 years. And I know many people, myself included, will be quite delighted when Saturn exits from Pisces early next year. Um, and Neptune is a planet that represents the formless and the mystical and the invisible realms. And so they're two planets that are very powerful, but they're very, very, very different.
Mm.
And they can together create a sense of overwhelm, exhaustion in many ways, but ultimately will bring about some kind of a clarity. To have them both as they're sitting on this cusp of Aries and Pisces in a very tight opposition to the sun and the moon means that we're dealing with, in many ways, some tough human situations, Saturn, but there's also a Neptunian longing to sort of, in many ways, to escape that or to find some kind of higher spiritual dimensional understanding or insight about what we're experiencing on just a human physical level. What is this all about? Why is this all happening?
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll be in the dead of night saying, why is this so hard? Because there's these big evolutionary processes at work, and this eclipse is really picking up on these big evolutionary processes. So that's the opposition from Neptune to Saturn. It's complex, and it would take hours to really. In fact,
Yeah.
next year I'm going to run a whole day's workshop just on Saturn conjunct Neptune. There's
Yeah.
so much to say about it.
Yeah. I think in there too is that you were saying a few things, and what came to mind was, just stop the world or want to get off.
That's right.
Because it's insane. So you've got Pluto up there in Aquarius, which is, insane. Right?
That's right. So here's Pluto,
Mm.
this powerful, slow-moving evolutionary planet of death and destruction and annihilation and rebirth, total rebirth and regeneration
Mm.
in very early Aquarius, strongly in alignment with Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus, the great revolutionary and awakening of new consciousness, all sending this powerful, transformative, awakening, challenging energy over to this eclipse at the critical 29 degrees of Virgo
Mm.
South Node, a lot to do with the past. It's like we're cleaning up the past. And I think if I was to encapsulate it in one phrase, that's probably what I'd say about it. We are clearing, and that's a big deal. And the past can mean so many things, including on the collective stage and how this planet's been run and operating for thousands of years. And it's in our faces now. Like it couldn't be more clear and obvious. Um, but also very much on a personal soul level, like our own karma, our own past from this lifetime, from other lifetimes, all our relationship issues, our body issues, everything.
Mm.
Everything is under the Virgo microscope.
So it's like a broom sweeping out and
Yep,
cleaning, because the energy of this eclipse lasts for another 6 months, doesn't it?
that's right.
Yeah. So to prepare for that.
That's right.
Mm.
I know yes, it's very significant, this particular eclipse. And remember, a very prominent figure in America, Charlie Kirk was shot, and that happens quite frequently in the world, but this one has really had a huge impact. A lot of it's being manipulated, the impact, but it happened soon after that lunar eclipse,
Yeah.
and Robert Redford died, and that hasn't had such a huge impact. But for people who really loved and appreciated Robert Redford, you feel it.
Well, we grew up with him on film.
That's right. And beautiful films, in my opinion, films that I always enjoyed. And I know so many people who know someone who's very close to the end of their life or in the palliative process right now,
Yeah.
I'm hearing that a great deal.
Mm.
And but I'm also experienced it. I was in a healing group that I'm in, and we did a meditation, and I experienced this very powerful vortex of energy in my heart. And it was like it was an energy of light that was just clearing out old stuff. And I think that's very much where we're in, where we're
Mm.
at, and what we're all in. We're in this great kind of vortex of energy that's just bringing everything up to the surface to be cleared. And so, if anyone's finding this eclipse period fairly challenging, just know that we're all in this collective maelstrom together. But it has a purpose, it has a really, ultimately, a really beautiful purpose to
So we're,
clear
we're sort of waiting for the wash cycle now, the rinse cycle
the
now.
rinse.
And it's the spin I'm worried about.
That's right.
So, because it's really been like that.
Yeah,
I mean, for the last, God, going on 6 years now. So,
that's
yeah,
right.
it's been
That
it's a big story, isn't it?
it's a huge,
Sort of.
huge story.
Yeah, it's fascinating too.
It is really fascinating. And because of this eclipse, it kind of sent me in the last week or so into another deep dive into researching eclipses, which I hadn't done for some time. And, I kept making all these new kind of discoveries or just, reminders of how eclipses work because eclipses operate in big cycles.
Mm.
And back in 2027, there was another solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. And so that got me back into my own records to remind myself what was happening. That was a huge year in my life.
Mm.
And so many big things were going on for me in that year with that eclipse. Again, it was in September because that's the Virgo month.
Mm.
Um, so and then there are these other cycles, we call them Saros cycles, when a whole series of eclipses is birthed at a certain point. And this one was birthed back in 2017, and they last for a few hundred years. So you get a whole series of 70 eclipses, and these form like dragon lines across the earth, and they are birthed. This one was birthed back in 2017 in the Antarctic. So so it's all very complex, but it's part of these, as a wise astrologer said years and years ago, basically the study of astrology is the study of cycles.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there are cycles within cycles within cycles within everything's sort of spinning and turning and moving. And these eclipse cycles are fascinating. And there are
Mm.
certain times when an eclipse will directly hit something in our own chart. So for me, my Mercury is being activated by everything this year, and it's having its
Mm.
impact. This eclipse is exactly opposite my Mercury, so it continues.
Yeah, yeah.
They're really
Mm.
powerful, and sometimes eclipses come and they don't seem to have much impact on us,
Mm.
but sometimes they are huge. They're certainly big in the collective, always.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Hmm. So,
Yes. So, is there anything else I wanted to say about that? There was I made lots of notes, but that's basically the thing. When an eclipse is on the north node, which the lunar eclipse was 2 weeks ago, we're at what they call the head of the dragon. So we're taking in new experiences. We're sort of moving forward into something new, and we're looking for new energy.
mm.
But when it's a south node eclipse like this one, it's all about the past and clearing the past and clearing out the old,
Mm. Mm.
which is not what you'd normally say about a new moon.
That's right. Yes, yeah, exactly. But that moon will move
Yeah,
on very quickly anyway.
that's exactly right.
Mm.
So, okay, so yeah, that's the big rave about the eclipse.
Well, also, I think today, is it today or tomorrow? We also have Mars is 0 degrees Scorpio.
We certainly do.
Okay, is
We
it today?
certainly do. So the eclipse formed this morning. Mars this evening, around about 6 o'clock, will move into the sign of Scorpio. So that's happening on the same day. And
Mm.
then the following day, the sun leaves Virgo and goes into 0 degrees of Libra, which
Yeah.
of course is the equinox. So it's a
Mm.
very powerful couple of days right now.
So that Mars 0 degree Scorpio, I mean, that's going to deepen and intensify some of the things you've been talking about. Like
Yeah,
I'm thinking like because it's in Scorpio, it's just time to confront things that have been hidden in the shadows, that sort of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
And Mars is impulsive too.
Very much. Mars is warrior energy. We say that Mars rules things like sharp blades and so on.
Mm.
So, you can imagine a warrior with his sword or a surgeon with his scalpel.
Yeah.
And because Mars is traditionally a ruler of the sign of Scorpio, it's very, very potent. And it's like here, Mars will leave no stone unturned in
Mm.
his very dynamic quest to get to the bottom of things. And those of us with Mars in Scorpio natally, we are like that, that desire to really cut through and penetrate beneath the surface,
Yeah.
really dig in there and dig into the psyche and the psychology or the world tells us something and Mars and Scorpio says, is that really true? I need to find out more. Right? Like what's the real story behind that? So Mars is very strong in that way. It will seek to penetrate to get to the bottom of something.
Yeah. Raise your hand if you've got Mars in Scorpio. Yeah. We know it
We can
well.
own it. We can own up to it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just thinking, so it's a time because of all that, the eclipse and Mars and Scorpio, it's a time to rather than letting our actions stem from what from all of that sort of energy, that big energy, we need to sort of remain aware of that instinct with
Yeah.
Mars and do things with clarity and, straight, with that
Yeah.
Virgo energy too.
Yes, because an unconscious Mars and
Mm.
an unconscious Mars in Scorpio, things can get very ugly.
Mm. Oh,
Yep. Absolutely, they can. And they can, and we will see that in the world. I remember an astrologer once said in a lecture I went to, Mars in Aries is like the warrior with a sword, the foot soldier on the battlefield. Mars in Scorpio is like somebody throwing an atomic bomb on a, on a,
mm.
on a city, just
Mm.
blowing the whole thing to pieces. So it's a very potent energy and it can stir up because Scorpio is a water sign. It can really stir up a lot of really powerful emotions. These 6 weeks with Mars and Scorpio is a great time to be very conscious of our own shadow energy and to allow it to arise and meet it and embrace it and understand it. It's not a time to be denying and avoiding our own shadow. It's important work to deal with our own
Yeah.
shadows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of
And
people,
and for the whole world, we're confronting the shadows of this world big time.
yeah, exactly. Mm.
And just to stay on that Mars theme for a minute, on the 24th, you see, as Mars starts to progress through Scorpio, on the 24th, it'll get to 1 degree and make the exact square to Pluto,
Mm.
which rules Scorpio. So you've got the two Scorpio planets squaring up to
Mm.
each other.
Yeah.
I mean, that square is literally there from the minute Mars moves into Scorpio this evening, but it will be exact. And I noticed when I looked at the exact moment of Mars square Pluto, the moon is exactly conjunct Mars as well. They're all at the same degree. So you've got Moon, Mars square Pluto.
Mm.
And that's in the evening of the 24th. So I'm just letting you know, folks, if you find the next couple of days being very intense and potent and powerful,
Yeah.
not necessarily in a really negative way, just really important and intense. That is why.
That's a really dynamic tension that's being
Yep,
created there.
yep,
And with Aquarius in the mix there, that's a powerful agent of change
yes,
that's going to challenge the status quo, basically.
it
It-
is.
yeah. And
It
quite
really is. And we
explosive.
might see it flare up as, big, we're already seeing this, of course, movements of people pushing back against, government control and so on, but then government control reacting and, going over the top in their response to that. They're the kinds of things that can happen. Relationship dynamics for some people could really come to a head and be very, very intense and strong. People could find themselves erupting in, having moments of anger or rage.
Mm,
Unleashing, these are very Scorpio words, unleashing the fury.
yeah.
Remember, we're still in that dragon eclipse energy. So there's something very dragon-like. And we can look at that energy in a very positive light. And I
Mm.
like to mostly with dragons, but there could also be, a dark, destructive side to it as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot to say in there, but I'm just thinking, there's um, first of all, people don't like change much. There's a tendency to be stubborn and inflexible,
Yeah.
resist change, even if it's in our best interest.
Yeah.
But with that transit, actually all of that really, um, there's jealousy and possessiveness and
Yeah.
intense emotions. And yet, at the same time, there's this, alongside this desire for liberation and authenticity with that Aquarius energy there. So it's a really interesting mix, isn't it?
It's a very interesting, complex mix. And that's why I said we've got a lot to talk about around this eclipse, because it's a very complex mix of different energies. But yes, it is about change. And I think it's about, having a deep trust in allowing these processes to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And because I was just saying this to a friend a couple of days ago. Um, I'm just really feeling how everything, absolutely everything is changing. Everything is
Mhm.
changing. People's lives are changing, people's circumstances are changing on so many levels and so many dimensions. It's and we just have to go with it. We're in this huge tidal wave, aren't we? And there's not a lot of it that we're in control of, I think, except making these choices in our daily life.
Yeah. I've seen a movie on one of the streaming platforms is called Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it's like that. It's all happening, it's everywhere, everything all at once.
All at once.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. It's really huge.
Yeah.
And of course, what I was saying before about this eclipse with its aspects to all these planets sitting at the cusp of signs, just having so many planets at the cusp of signs.
Hmm.
And on the eclipse, Mars is at 29 of Libra just before it goes into Scorpio. That alone is enough to speak of. We're in a period of tremendous change. And I said in 2019, 2020 will be a year we won't forget, and it'll be before 2020 and after 2020. We'll be thinking of it like that. 2025 is a bit like that as well. It's a very pivotal year for us
Hmm.
all.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, how do we navigate our way through all that when all of this is happening? Because our vulnerabilities will come to the surface. I mean,
Yeah,
Pluto. Um,
yeah.
so amidst that situation, it may seem negative, but actually it can also reveal hidden strengths too, and forge more genuine connections because that Aquarius energy loves to connect on a, grand scale.
That's right. And so these three planet, I love a visual. So these three here, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are the three outer planets are all about the evolutionary processes
Yeah.
of change, but change for the purpose of awakening,
Mm,
like real awakening and enlightenment and coming to know who we really are instead of these, small kind of people, feeling completely powerless in life and so on, but to really awaken to who we really truly are, that's a huge, huge process. And all of those three planets are very key in that process, and they all operate in their own particular way to get us there.
Yeah.
And so when we're being impacted by those planets directly in our own life, they're not messing about. Things are going to happen that may not be comfortable or easy. But afterwards, we look back and go, wow, look where I am now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That awakening process is very big, and it's like I did a presentation yesterday and put a slide up. I think was it Judy Garland was in Wizard of Oz? Was she the
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
put it up and she's holding the dog and she just says, oh, 'cause I was talking about the awakening process and it's like I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto, because it's like boom, like wow,
Yes.
you just sort of are in this other place, and then you have to adapt to being in that other space. That yeah.
That's right. And just if I was to find a word for each of those three planets in relation to this process of awakening, individually and collectively, like Pluto is the force of destruction.
Mm,
It'll just, the wrecking ball that will just clear the path, whether we like it or not. Neptune is very often operates through loss,
yes.
and Uranus through shock.
Mm,
Sudden, unexpected change as a shock wave. I mean,
mm,
so much more we can say about each one, but in terms of what we're talking about, that's the process and all of those. And Saturn then is because Saturn's involved in this eclipse as well. Saturn is the impact that it has on our very human life and our very relationship with our own body and how we inhabit our body and our daily life.
mm,
So it is big.
mm.
And
Yeah,
remember, we're in a 9 year and we're in the year of the snake. So a lot of shedding of skins and the 9 year of completion. So it's all part of the same story.
well, I just want that spaceship to come in and pick me up, and come on, guys, where are you?
Enough already.
It's enough. Yes.
I know, I
Oh,
know.
but
Yep.
speaking of spaceships,
Yes,
in
carry
that,
on.
in that arena, there's been a heck of a lot going on as well. We've just had another congressional hearing in the United States with people coming forward and giving testimony. There was one in Brazil, I think it was a week or two later, and there's a lot of UFO activity in Brazil. So here we've got all that. We've still got Pluto and Aquarius going on in the background. So that Aquarian energy is really playing out um, in circles where people are paying attention, and it's
Yep,
it's huge. It's huge. It's
yep,
just yeah, it's this big push for disclosure, and not that I think it's going to happen that way, but what's happening, I think, because it doesn't seem to go anywhere in the way the public wants, the
yep.
public are rising up,
Right.
or so, and that's all about that Pluto and Aquarius energy.
It is. And remember, Pluto's forming these amazing trines to Uranus
Yeah.
in Gemini over the next 5 or 6 years.
Oh,
There are five exact alignments, but in general, for the next 5 or 6 years, that will really support that process of revelation and exposure, not only of that issue, but I mean, just every issue on planet Earth is
yeah,
part of the same story in a way, isn't it?
yeah,
Everything,
yeah,
from farming to just everything. So, yeah, we're in very big, important times, and it's both overwhelming at times, exhausting. Yes, we want to find the exit route quite often, but it's also in many ways exhilarating. And,
mm,
I believe, we came here purposefully to be part of this process and to, both to witness it, but also to play our own role in the process as well, in whatever way we do.
yeah. I was going to say to hold it,
That's right.
to pin it down, to get the hammer out and pin that energy down on Earth and say, this
That's
is holding
that's right.
this
That's
stuff
right.
here. Come on, bring it through. Like a light.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Mm,
Exactly.
mm.
So that's all of that from the eclipse through to the end of the month. And it's literally those days, like from the lunar eclipse on the 8th through to this square of Mars to Pluto on the 24th. That's the really potent period. Then things sort of calm. I mean, they won't really calm down because those energies are still operating. Um, but things will be relatively quieter then for the last week of September. And then that brings us to the full moon on the 7th of October, which is not such a dramatic full moon. The full moon will be at 14 degrees of Aries opposite the sun at 14 degrees of Libra. So we'll be in the Libran solar period, sun going through the sign of Libra. And on that day, the moon will be in the sign of Aries. And on that same day, Mercury will go into Scorpio. So we've still got that kind of Scorpio, because in October, November is the time when these inner planets, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, actually make their way through the sign of Scorpio. It
Mm,
just happens Mars is doing the same thing at the same
mm,
time. So Mars is bringing his energy to that sign also. Um, on the 14th, Venus, this is lovely. This is always a nice thing when this happens every year for about 3 weeks. Venus will enter the sign of Libra on the 14th of October. Venus, of course, being a ruling planet of the sign of Libra. So Venus represents the heart, love, beauty, sharing, connection, pleasure, enjoyment in the sign of Libra that just loves everything that's beautiful and is very much a sign of relationship. That's primarily
mm.
what Libra is about, balance, harmony, and beauty in human relationship.
It's a
And
very softening,
how do we make that happen?
yeah, it's a very softening energy, isn't it?
Very, very,
That,
very. And I think
mm,
that will be um, very, very helpful and very nice, and can really help with that energy of negotiation, agreement,
yeah,
find some
diplomacy,
harmony.
yeah,
Yeah,
has a really balanced perspective as the diplomat of all the signs, actually.
that absolutely.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
had this conversation a few times with people recently where, Libra it just wants to smooth ruffled waters. It doesn't like
yeah,
to see upset.
yeah,
Mm,
that's right. And it's always seeking out mutual agreement as much as that is possible, through discussion, negotiation.
mm.
Well, let's figure this out so that we're both feeling like, yeah, okay, that works for me.
I think it
Mhm.
also has to be aware, though, that the downside of it, downfall, one of the shortcomings is that it can tend to be a people pleaser,
Yeah,
to keep the waters smooth,
yeah,
but just, it just wants to make people happy
yes.
to its
It,
own detriment.
it can be, I'll do anything to keep the peace at any price.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that full moon across the Libra Aries axis is about that balance between peace and harmony in human relationship
Mm,
and equanimity, which is a wonderful Libran word, and the Aries need to also honor our own individual autonomy. So that's, I've said this many times, I just love that whole energy of the signs and polarity opposite each other, because finding that balance between the Libran harmony in relationship plus also the needs of the individual,
mm,
and how do we get that working really well together in harmony. Yeah,
yes. Yeah.
yeah. And now on the same day that Venus goes into Libra, Pluto will turn direct. Now, it is Pluto, so he's very powerful. And when these slow moving planets are changing direction, their presence is very strong. We can go back to the square of Mars to Pluto, in September. Pluto's already then slowing right down. So it's pretty stationary all through that last part of September and the first 2 weeks of October. So Pluto's quite prominent at the moment. And I want to say something else about Pluto, which I don't normally speak of for no reason other than there's not time to talk about everything. Pluto is what we call out of bounds at the moment and will be for quite a while. And that's when Pluto goes outside of its normal range of movement in the sky. So he's running a bit renegade at the moment, and it's a powerful energy,
Mm,
so it's really quite strong currently. Um, but it will turn direct, meaning it's coming out of its 5.5 month or so retrograde period. So it will start to pick up speed and start to move forward. And then we're going to find one after another over in the next couple of months, each of these retrograde planets, which have been retrograde for some time now, will begin to move forward again and will feel like, okay, things are starting to move forward.
oh, great.
I know it already
Oh,
feels like things are just going so super fast, but
oh God, got to go over my ascendant again. Thank you.
there
Thank
you go.
you.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
But it
Mm.
will be the final part of that, and then it'll be in your first house for many years. So watch out, world. Cheryl is
I
coming.
know, and my second house. So yeah, I'm going to be on the. I'm going to be on the. If I'm alive that long, on the Alien Express for the rest of my life.
That's you are. You are. You are. Absolutely.
Better suck it up and get used to it right now.
Yep. Yep. And then on the 20th of October, there's a conjunction between Mercury and Mars at 19 degrees of Scorpio. Um, so there's a lot of activity coming up in the sign of Scorpio, which is always a purification. It's always a clearing and a cleaning out. It can feel quite heavy, that Scorpio energy sometimes. People often, I know I do, we often feel quite tired when there's a lot of emphasis on a water sign. And because Scorpio energy is so deep, we can feel like we're being pulled down into this kind of quagmire. It can feel like that.
Mm,
So we often need a bit more rest when the
yeah.
Scorpio energy is up. And that leads us to the new moon on the 21st of October, which we'll talk about more next time, at 28 degrees of Libra.
Ah, Libra. My grandmother's birthday was on the 20th of October. She was a keen gardener. Yeah,
Oh, so
yeah.
if she was a Libra, and I'll bet the garden was
Oh, it
beautiful.
was gorgeous. People would stop and stare at it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The suggestion was that she should go into the open garden displays. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so lucky to have spent at least 10 years of my life living there and enjoying the beauty of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Libra lives for beauty.
Yeah.
And if it's not, because I've met some Librans who are more of the intellectual Libran energy and they have these amazing minds, but many, many Librans, it's all about beauty. And
Mm.
and my God, this world needs more of that.
Oh, yeah. And,
There's so much ugliness in this world, and yes, we
well, I used
need.
to go to school and come home, and the room would be repainted once a week. Like it was,
Wow, the redecorating urge is
yeah,
strong.
yeah, all the time, always moving furniture, just getting it just right, aesthetically pleasing. Is it balanced? I mean, she would have been great at what's the
Feng Shui.
thank you. Yes, yes,
Yes.
she would have been great
And
at
and
it.
you will see people who are really into those Chinese arts, particularly Feng Shui. They will always have Libra strong in the chart, or
Mm,
interior decorators, that kind of thing. And you see, Libra's a cardinal sign. It's a sign of action.
mm,
And so, she's compelled to rearrange things, like because I've got it. See, so balance is not a static thing, it's a moving thing.
yeah,
So for her, like, oh, okay, I've got it just right. But then a week or two later, yeah, it's not really how I want it
right.
right now.
You know.
Let's adjust it again.
Oh, it's funny, very funny. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot, and that's a month's worth of movement
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
travel. Yeah, definitely. So, well, thank you for all that. I've
You're very welcome.
a lot to. I'll have to go and enter a few more dates in my diary because I wasn't didn't know we were going to do a month's worth. This one, I thought we were starting next month. But anyway,
Right.
everyone. So just remember, we won't be back. We will be back in a month this time for
Yeah.
the next new moon, and we'll continue the episodes on the new moon. So until then, stay safe, be well, And keep following the star trails with us into the age of Aquarius, and we will see you again soon.
Go well, everybody.
Bye for now.
Bye.